welcome to Brand X Reviews. Today is the 15th of October 2014. It was announced pretty much today that Warner Brothers have really kind of nailed down and itemised their DC superhero film properties that they're going to be releasing all the way up to 2020. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the press release of what exactly they're going to be releasing and who's starring in it, who's directing it, because there are quite a few revelations today, so I'm just going to go through this in order basically and just say what I think about each thing. In fact, I'll start off with the press release anyway. I'll just kind of get that. So it was part of a larger press release, but it kind of goes on. In a massive expansion of the studio's DC Entertainment branded content, Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema, I'll get into that, will release a slate of at least 10 movies as well as standalone Batman and Superman films from 2016 through 2020 that expands this prized universe of characters. And then it goes on the list. So the films we've got: Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, directed by Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder did Man of Steel, I'm sure you're already aware of that. Suicide Squad film, directed by David Ayer. Now, if you want to know who David Ayer is, watch my Sabotage review, which I did a couple of weeks ago, the DVD review, not the actual theatrical release that I did a few months ago. I kind of went into David Ayer's film background. Wonder Woman starring Gal Gadot in 2017, so the Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad 2016. Wonder Woman starring Gal Gadot 2017, as I say. No other details on that as yet. Justice League Part 1, directed by Zack Snyder, with Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill and Amy Adams reprising their roles. So those are your two films for 2017. 2018, The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, presumably as The Flash. Aquaman as well, starring Jason Momoa in 2018. So two films a year pretty much. So in 2018, The Flash and Aquaman. 2019, Shazam, which it doesn't say starring Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, but we know that separately. And then the other film for 2019, Justice League Part 2, directed by Zack Snyder again. Then 2020, Cyborg, starring Ray Fisher and Green Lantern, is the second film for 2020. It doesn't say who's starring in that one yet. I mean, obviously that's 6 years away yet, so God knows. That's the list anyway. Now this is all... A lot of this has already been kind of announced, but they've kind of changed it here. There are specific dates set here and there. It doesn't say that in this press release, but that's very interesting anyway. There's quite a number of things I want to get into, so I'll just kind of go through it from the beginning. So, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, directed by Zack Snyder in 2016. That's going to be the first film since Man of Steel. Man of Steel in 2013 was the one that really started this new franchise. So a lot of people confuse the Dark Knight trilogy. All those films, they don't count. Superman Returns from 2006 certainly doesn't count. Man of Steel is where it's begun, and the next film is Batman v Superman. So that's going to be directed by Zack Snyder. Now, I don't know when we're going to see any teaser trailers for this properly. There was, of course, the Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con trailer that kind of leaked in very poor quality in, I think it was July of 2014, so a few months ago. Now, we have seen that. If you haven't seen it, it's going to be very difficult now, because any time it goes up on YouTube, it just automatically pretty much gets deleted. So the teaser trailer of that, I don't think it's actually footage that's going to be used in the film anyway. There's just basically this Batman, he projects the Batman symbol into the sky. There's a flash of lightning, and Superman's just there kind of hovering in the Batman symbol. And they both kind of stare at each other. Superman's eyes start glowing red, and then Batman's suit kind of starts... Well, the eyes are glowing on his suit, and he's got this big bulky suit that's very similar to what he had in the graphic novel The Dark Knight Returns, which Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is going to have bits in it that kind of incorporate bits from The Dark Knight Returns. So that's going to be very interesting. I'll kind of cut it short there talking about that film anyway, because a lot of that's already kind of known anyway. The next film is Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer. Now, we don't really know too much about that yet. I'm not really sure who's been cast in that, but you can look it up. All this is kind of available on IMDb. But David Ayer is a very good film director. He's a very good writer as well. I don't know if he's writing the film, but he's directing it. As I say, I talked a bit about David Ayer's work in my Sabotage review, which was a recent Arnold Schwarzenegger film. And I kind of talked about his filmmaking past, so I would probably recommend just watching that review. I won't talk too much about it here. So I've got a lot of faith in that film anyway. I don't know much about the Suicide Squad. I've certainly never read anything about it, I mean actual comics. But just the fact that it's directed by David Ayer, I'm sold on it. The next film, Wonder Woman, starring Gal Gadot. So this is 2017 now. I don't quite know much about that. I do know that very recently one of the producers did say to, I think it's John Campea of AMC, that Wonder Woman is going to be a demigod and that she is the daughter of Zeus. That's her origin for this franchise. Now I don't know much more than that. That's not really officially confirmed. That was just something that was said by a producer to a fairly trustworthy source anyway. So we kind of go with that. From what I understand, the Zeus daughter thing is something from the New 52. I'm not 100% about that, so if I'm wrong, post some comments. But that's the information I've got anyway. Justice League Part 1 is the next film. I'm going off the list. It might be the other way around. It might be Justice League, then Wonder Woman, but it's on the list in this order. So Justice League Part 1. She's directed by Zack Snyder, so he did Man of Steel. He's doing the Batman v Superman film. So that's going to have Ben Affleck, obviously Batman, Henry Cavill, Superman, and Amy Adams, Lois Lane reprising their roles. I'm sure it'll have more than that as well. I mean, Gal Gadot's character of Wonder Woman is actually, although she's having her film in 2017, her character is going to be established in Batman v Superman in the film in 2016, previously to the Wonder Woman film itself. So whether or not she's just got a few basic roles in it, I don't know exactly. I know she's been filming some stuff because she's been seen doing it, so it's going to be more than just like a post-credits cameo or something. So the Justice League film, up to this point, it's going to have Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Other than that, the next film is The Flash, starring Ezra Miller. I looked Ezra Miller up. He's very young. He's in his early 20s. I'm assuming he's playing The Flash anyway. That's the information I've got. So that's the first film of 2018 that's on the list anyway. So, of course, there is a Flash TV series coming as well. I'm not massively into TV series, and of course it won't link in with the film from what I understand. I don't see how it could. That's a whole other issue anyway. I'm not going to get too much into TV shows. They don't tie in. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Marvel thing ties in with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, kind of. Officially it does anyway. I don't think there's any TV shows. Like Gotham doesn't tie in with the Batman property in this, the cinematic property. So that was a Flash. Aquaman is going to be the second film in 2018, and Jason Momoa has been officially cast now because there was a lot of pretty much reliable confirmation of it, but not ultimate confirmation, but he is officially cast now. So those are two films for 2018. I'll just say as well about Aquaman as well. There's been a lot of backlash, just the fact that they're doing an Aquaman film. Hardcore fans will be fans of him and kind of stoked that they're going with his character in this. I don't really know too much about him. I've seen him in some of the animated stuff and seen his character here and there in the comics that I have read, but I'm not big up on the character. From what Zack Snyder has said, because I seem to remember, I think it was in Detroit where they're filming the Batman v Superman, there was a local radio station and they were kind of taking the piss out of Aquaman, and Zack Snyder actually called into the radio station to just basically, not kick their asses or anything like that, but just to say, well, hang on a minute, like Aquaman is like a pretty tough guy, you could rip Superman's skin off. So we'll see anyway. Jason Momoa is a pretty good physical actor. I haven't seen the Conan the Barbarian remake that they've done, but I've seen him in other stuff, and he looks the part. He's got a real charm to him as well. And he was in one film I have seen him in recently was Bullet to the Head, which was a Stallone film. It wasn't a brilliant film, but he was very good in it. And I like Stallone, so I'm fairly easily pleased. But it was memorable as a bad guy. It was the Jason Momoa character, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as Aquaman. So those are two films, 2018, The Flash and Aquaman. 2019, Shazam. Don't know too much about what they're going to be doing with it, but I understand, obviously, it's been, I think officially confirmed that Dwayne Johnson is playing Black Adam. He's kind of the bad guy. I don't know too much about Shazam other than that. I have heard it's going to be done by New Line Cinema. This is where it gets interesting, because New Line Cinema is a subsidiary pretty much of Warner Brothers. So the question is this Shazam film and everything that they do with it, is it going to be in canon with the other films that they're talking about here? Because why isn't it done by Warner Brothers itself? It's fairly unusual for it to be done by New Line when all the others are done by Warner Brothers. So is it going to be kept secret? Not secret. Is it going to be kept separate from that universe? I don't know. It might be kept separate, and it might be something that they'll later on incorporate. It could be a separate dimension. They could do like a kind of dimension crossover. That's another theory that's going out there, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's not unheard of in comics. So trying to really go with what has pleased fans in the comics and kind of translate it to film. I don't know if that would work. Anyway, so that's 2019 Shazam, and also 2019 Justice League Part 2, directed by Zack Snyder again. Really don't know anything more than that. I would assume it will have more of the characters like Aquaman and the Flash, having established them between Justice League Part 1 and 2. So it's the first film of the second film of 2019 that's on the list. I don't know, the Shazam film might be after that, but like I say, I'm just going off like the order that it's presented on the list. Next film on the list is Cyborg, starring Ray Fisher. Cyborg, obviously one of the Justice League, so they've cast him. 2020, that's a long way away, is that? To have cast somebody. I don't know if he's going to make an appearance before that. Maybe in fact, I think he is. I think I remember hearing actually that he's going to be in Justice League Part 1 in 2017. So that will make sense that they've cast him already, and then he's going to get his own film. That's what I'm going off the top of my head anyway. For 2020, Cyborg. And then the next film, and the last film on the list, Green Lantern in 2020. Now, I do not know if they're going to establish the Green Lantern in any films prior to his own film. That was a big question, because 2011 we had a Green Lantern film, and it is not in canon with the DC universe that they're now doing, the DC Cinematic Universe. That was one with Ryan Reynolds. It was a pretty poor film. It was really underwhelming. I think they were trying to make an Iron Man film for DC, and have a pretty good actor. Ryan Reynolds, for what I've seen him in, I'm happy with his acting skills. He's got quite a bit of range, and I like him. I know a lot of people hate him, but I think he's better off at Deadpool, but that's a whole other... Watch my Deadpool video. I've done one recently. But yeah, he was a Green Lantern in 2011. That film is isolated from this. It's not a part of it. So I think by leaving it as long as possible to do a Green Lantern film especially, let alone establish him, whether they're going to establish him in one of the Justice League films prior to this, I don't know. But they're having him in 2020 in his own film. So I think that 9 years is a long enough time to have it before you've actually rebooted the standalone Green Lantern films. Like I say, I don't know if he's going to be established prior to this, but kind of repeating myself there. So that's it, that's the list. Now, obviously, they really are projecting 6 years ahead of time here, very specifically. I mean, officially projecting. I mean, I know in Marvel's case, Kevin Feige has kind of said, we've projected all the way to 2030. But they haven't announced stuff yet. I mean, they've not really announced anything beyond 2016, I think, officially, in terms of saying we're going to release such and such on such and such a day, or in such and such a year even. Whereas this list is very specific. It goes all the way, it says which characters are going to get their own films and what year, all the way up to 2020. So they really are kind of getting ahead of themselves in terms of success. Because, I mean, if the first 2 or 3, maybe even one of the films on this list bombs at the cinema, are they even going to do these? Are they even going to release these films? Are they going to make them? Because if they're onto a franchise that just fails at the first hurdle, after Man of Steel, I can't really see these films being cost-worthy making them. but they probably still would anyway. I think they would just keep going, just keep trying. But I mean, Man of Steel, I liked Man of Steel. I will say that. A lot of people didn't, but I think overall most people did like it. I can see why some people thought it was underwhelming, maybe. I didn't think it was underwhelming, I liked it, but some people hated it as well. There's a lot of really stupid arguments, like, Superman shouldn't kill, he killed General Zod. That's a lot of bollocks. Chuck that argument out. But yeah, there was one, it was somebody on AMC kind of referring back to that again, made a really good point that if in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, that's the first film that's coming out after Man of Steel, so that's 2016, if that film does really well, and that is an awesome film, and it is loved, and it makes like box office records, that kind of thing, or just does brilliantly at the box office, in that one film DC could catch up with Marvel pretty much if it is loved, if it is awesome, if it is, Terminator 2, epic, game changer kind of thing, or Star Wars, the original Star Wars. If it's that kind of a film, which it very well could be. If it's not, we're talking disaster really for this whole thing. So a lot of this hinges on that. I mean, Man of Steel was a good film, but I think everything hinges on Batman vs Superman. Like I said, the AMC guy was kind of making that point and basically said, if you were to say, right, tomorrow there is a Marvel film and a DC film coming out, generic Marvel film, generic DC film, most people would just automatically just pick the Marvel film, because Marvel has really just kind of built a lot of confidence with people. All of their films to date have been really good. Some of them maybe not so great. I mean, Incredible Hulk I thought was good, but it wasn't like, whoa, that's awesome. I know some people didn't like Iron Man 2 or Captain America, but overall the Marvel films have been really good. DC, on the other hand, they've had Man of Steel. There have been ones before that as well. I haven't really kind of boosted this with a lot of confidence. I think at the moment, if you were to say to most people, Marvel film, DC film, released tomorrow, which one are you going to go see? Don't be specific, just say generic Marvel, DC. Most people go with Marvel. If Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice is awesome, they could really catch up. And if at that stage you then asked people, generic Marvel film, generic DC film, out tomorrow, which one do you go see first? We'd be like, I'm going to need more information than that. I'm not just going to trust it just because it's either Marvel or DC. I want to know because they're both on a par. That could be the case. I genuinely believe that. So that's pretty much all I have for now anyway. I've kind of rambled on a little bit, so I will be following this as it develops, and if you check back, brandxreviews.com. I don't just do video news reports like this, I also sometimes just post things on the actual the blog site itself, just kind of text stuff. So if you check back anyway, I'm going to be following this. I'm not usually the first one to cover it, obviously. I realise this has been kind of going around already, but if you want to see more videos like this, just subscribe to us on YouTube. And like I say, brandxreviews.com is the website, so I'll cut it short there. Thank you very much for watching.